Hey kids, it's Blackjack with 396 Guitars. What is going on with my camera? We're back with the Gibson ES-120t, 1963 model. You referred to the first video. There's going to be a couple. I want to show you a couple of steps when you're doing even a soft restoration, the processes and the stages that you have to go through just to clean the instrument. There's quite a few of those steps, so let's get to work. I'll show you and catch you up where we're at right now. You can see that I have the tuners over here. I've been working on those. Now, first video, we kind of went through, we cleaned up, some of the paint work on it, the finish as much as we could. The headstock is really banged up. The body, not so much, but there is a lot of age cracking, checking, call it what you want. It's the nitro cellulose finish. Now, it took me, I'm going to tell you, about 5 hours of just hand cleaning. And where every player leans their hand right here while they're strumming, this was the worst part, right here. There was so much wax, sweat, skin buildup here that this section right here took me about 2 hours just to clean it through by hand, mind you. I've watched guys get after these old instruments with a power tool. I won't do it. I will not do it. But I want to illustrate one thing. Even if it's nice and soft and smooth and clean, and you can see the difference. It's completely a million times better than it was. But with nitro, are you seeing this right over here? You see all that shadowing? That's clean. I got all the gook off of there. And you see this side over here doesn't do that. Well, this side looked just like that when I got to it today. And I'm not surprised by that. That is actually the nitro reacting with the cleaner, the wax compound that we used by hand. I'm going to say it again and again. I re-cleaned this section and pulled all of that clouding off. And that's the way nitro is. It is just some not fun stuff to work with. And there is still all the cracking and checking is in the finish, and that we like. We like that. But we don't want, if we can avoid it, we don't want all of that clouding. Now I'm going to show you that if you do the same process that we did before, cleaning the first layer of crud off of it and decades of DNA, you go back and you do it again. And this time it's not going to be as bad. You're gonna just take off all of that cloudiness. And this is a really benign compound polish, right? And it's nitro safe. That's the way they manufactured it. And then all of a sudden, all of that clouding is gone right there. And it matches that side. Now, guess what? Yeah, that was just a little one step just to, knock that off. I have to do the entire surface again. And not only the top surface, I got to do all of this again. And all of this again. And this wasn't nearly as bad as the top, because the top is the business end. That's where the money's made. Touching, feeling, shit landing on it for decades. And that's the difference. You can see the difference instantly. You can see the difference instantly. Yeah, we're going to do the whole thing all over again, but it's not going to be nearly as bad as the first time that we did. So We're not doing that today, not on the video anyway. I mean, that's my cross to bear, because when you take on, and this is by what I call a soft restoration, I'm just getting this back to whatever glory it is going to present itself to. And remember, we already cleaned up the fretboard, but we have to get after the frets, and then we're going to oil the board. We took off, again, decades of just absolute gack off of the fretboard. Literally between each fret, there was just buildup of all kinds of stuff. That's all gone. The next step is going to be, we're going to go to taping off each one individually and doing a 59-step process for each fret to get them back to as good as they can possibly be for player quality restoration. Okay, I'm going to remove this because I want to show what we've been doing with just the tuners. And remember, when we took these tuners off the tuning machine set, made in Japan. So at some point in this, I'm going to guess the 70s to maybe the 80s, at some point they put aftermarket or replacement, what they thought was brand new replacement tuners. This is not what the guitar was born with. Now, that being said, they all work really well. Some of them are a little stiffer, some of them are a little bit looser, but I have checked them all and they all work. Now, I am not going to bend out the tabs and pull the tuners out and go that far with them, only because it's not necessary. They're not that bad, but I've already worked on one, and you can see which one. This is the done one. This is the dirty one. And there's literally the same kind of sticky gook that was all over the guitar is all over the tuners, because that's what happens. I mean, you can see the difference in the shine. And how did I get the gack to this is at least acceptable? If we were to take them all apart, we could turn them into almost brand new, but my guess is that probably we would lose 1 to 2, maybe even more of the gear sets. And when you take these apart, even the aftermarket replacement ones are not that stout. And we don't want to do that. So 1500, this is either 1500 or 1800 wet dry sandpaper. And it is so benign, so soft that you couldn't even file your fingernail with it. But what it does is it takes off that outer layer of tarnish and gook, sticky nastiness, right? And you can see I've got, this is probably the 8th little piece of, one that I used on that guy. And this one is even more benign. That one's, I think, a 2000 or higher. I'm just going to show you a small section of it to try to illustrate sticky. I mean, it's actually tacky when you touch it, and it's just filthy. And that's just stuff that's stuck onto it, Nice and shiny, nice and dull. So let's just work that tuner box right there and see what happens. And this is, again, really benign wet dry sandpaper. And you don't have to get super aggressive with it. And when you feel it, you're going to know the difference. This is what we go through to restore an instrument, because why would I put those sticky, nasty tuner machine sets back on there? I wouldn't. pretty sure the camera is picking up on that. This one we just shined up a little bit. This one is dull. This one's dull. You could see it. I mean, that one right there is showing a little glare off the light, and these aren't. And there is no easy way to do this. On a full-blown 100% all the way restoration, yes, I would bend these tabs back here, pop those out, get the gear sets out, take the post out, and go to town and hope that everything went back together properly, because these are very fragile to begin with. But this is going to make it stand tall, and it's going to be really nice when we get it done. You follow? Am I going to bore you with this entire process? No, because that one took me about an hour and a half just to get it to that point. And it's not 100%. It's about, I would say, 75 to 80%. But man, when that goes back on, it's going to be noticeable to the client. They're going to take one look at it and go, oh man, you know, it's going to look nice. If it's acceptable enough for me, if I got a guitar back and it was my instrument that had been languishing for all these years, I would be happy that somebody took the time to at least get even 80% of this crap off. Okay, so I'm going to pause while I do that, and then we're going to probably install them back on the guitar, and I might even show some of the work on the frets. We'll be right back. Okay, so we're very happy with the way the tuners came out. Now, I also put a dollop of lube in there and worked them. Some of them are a little stiffer than the others, but they all work. I've taken the time to clean them, get as much of the gook off manually. There are little ears back here where you can bend them forward, pull the tuner box off, get the gear set out, and really go to town on them, but made in Japan. Not going to do that. And they work fine, so I'm not going to go that far with those. Again, soft restoration. We're going to put them back on the guitar because I don't want them floating around here. You follow? I don't need the truss rod cover. I could put that in the parts box. Now remember, I'm going to slide down because this is the business end of what we're working on right here. Two of them, the bushings, did not want to come out because somebody at some point in the life of this guitar glued them in. And I know they're glued in because if it was just wood or swelling or whatever, they would have still popped out. They just need to set in there. They don't need anything more than that. And sometimes if they don't go all the way in, you can tap them a little bit. Remember, old guitar. Don't need to go crazy. As long as the bushing is there and it's firm in the hole, you're going to be okay. Yeah. Could I have gotten those other two bushings out? Yeah, but no, I don't want to do that. Something could end up breaking, you know, and we just don't need to do that. We don't need to go that far. I'm going to guess that's the way that goes. They have a beauty tip on both ends. I'm going to put, because, you know, made in Japan, I'm going to put the sticker towards the top so it reads the same as the label. Yeah. Don't want them upside down. Let's see if it goes that way. Oh, I know. Wake up, Luch. turn a certain way. Golly. Sometimes I have a brain fart. I'm only human. Only human. You want to wrap around that way, so, and you tune that way, not down. So this one goes on the base side, as it were. Right. Which will now be on this side. Yeah, quite a striation and marking there, checking, call it what you want. I just want to get the tuners on there because I don't want them floating around in the parts box anymore. I inspected all of these screws. They're all in good condition. And believe it or not, as old as this guitar is, they all snug up. And by the way, don't get overzealous. They just need to be snug. You're not building a Harley Davidson. Just make sure that it's, if there's any of them that are loose, of course you want to address that. But I don't think we'll need to. By the way, I also took the time, this is on the back side, but they're much cleaner, much shinier. I also took the time, of course, with the same process with the tailpiece. I really took time to clean up. There was a lot of, something had gotten on the aluminum and really reacted with it. And I polished it up, cleaned it really nice. It's got patina on it. You bet you're a sweet bippy it does. And that's cool. I like that. What did I do here? Yep. Right. Let's hope it's this one. There were 2 screws for the tailpiece while I got talking about it, and there it is. Put the wrong screw in. They're the same size, but they're different style. And if any of these do not find purchase or are loose, I would not go to the extent of filling the hole and re-drilling it. I would just cheat it with a piece of bamboo and maybe just the tiniest dollop of white glue to hold the screws in. But believe it or not, every single one of these, and there was 8 of them, they all found purchase. Every modern guitar I work on, they're all loose. They're all over drilled and too big, and none of them find purchase. I love it. I love it. Our tuners are back on, and they are going in the right direction. Get them all lined up for later, because I suffer from OCD. I want all the holes lined up to be ready to accept strings. I digress. I'm not going to put the tailpiece on because I still got a lot of work to do here. I'm going to wait for this to go another day, and we may have to do the same process. In fact, I can almost see some shading there, and that checking may come back, and it may be there, period. But I'm pretty sure it'll be far better than it was the first time. And it's really only shows in the blend on the outside, the darker shade. I like it. It's a beautiful instrument. And some of that checking is going to come back. But boy, let me tell you, it's far better than it was. This side needs to be cleaned up slightly. Just because I can. Right there. It won't be nearly as bad as the first time I cleaned it. We'll check it tomorrow. Let it set. Oh man, it's such a pretty instrument. And it's just responding well to everything that we're doing to it. I can't wait until this thing is in the client's hands and it's playing. So for the end of this video, I'm just going to show you, we're going to do one or two of these frets. And the way we do that, yeah, many of you have seen it. You kind of have to tape off the board on either side of the fret and then go to work on it. And with an older instrument, that's a little tricky. That takes some of the sticky off of it, although I'm not worried too much. It's fretboard. It's not going on to paint. Either side of the fret. That's probably a little too wide. Is it? I'm thinking. All that does is take some of the sticky off of it. You want it to be on there, but you don't want it to pull off any finish or paint. Right? So what's the first step? First step is really soft emery. I call it emery. It's not really. It's sand pad. It's kind of like a Scotch-Brite, but it's 1500. I cut it super thin. You want it to be narrower than the tool that you're covering the fret with, because you don't want to get into the wood on the fretboard. And all we're doing with this pass is getting the heavy-duty crap that's on the top and going around the crown of the fret. Edges, and right away you can see a difference. I mean, it's just really, we could stop there and it would look a million times better, but we're not, because I think this instrument deserves a little bit more care and attention that I use. And again, many of you have seen this process. Tape either side of the fret. You take the bulk of the crap off of the top, and I'm talking about a really, really ultra fine sandpaper board or Scotch-Brite, call it what you want. I like these guys. There's a coarse, which is 1500 and 1800. There's two sides to it. Then you go to medium. I've used it so many times I can't even read it. So 1500 to 1800, and I think this one's 1200. Then we go down to 4,000 to 6,000 and 8,000 to 12,000. So you start a little bit aggressive. And I like to put my Mr. Magoo eyes on for this, because I like to see how nice the fret comes up. So you work both sides of it, and here's where you're actually going from the top of the fret all the way down to the side, and that's where the tape comes in. You need something there to allow you to run that sandpaper tool across there, both sides. Let's try not to sand anything that doesn't need to be sanded. These acoustic or hollow body in this instance is a little trickier because these first 10 frets, you got a body to worry about on either side. You don't want to, so don't get too crazy with it. Once you've done both edges all the way down to the surface of the board, start working the top and round. And watch your work as you're going along. Move to the other side, which is just a little bit finer, and work the entire fret. And take your time with this. Don't rush it. This is, if you're going to take time with anything, take your time with this. That was just that one. Then you move on to the next one. Right? And you do the same process on the same fret until you get all the way to ultrafine. Right? So we went from coarse, what they call coarse is 1500 to 1800. And then the next one is, like I said, I've used them a lot. I think this one goes 4,000 to 6,000. And the same thing, work the edge where it meets the board on both sides. That is the most neglected part of the fret on any dressing job. And it doesn't take a lot. Let the tool, let the sandpaper do the work. Once you've done that, start working around the crown and the edge, each fret end. I'm showing you super slow. I work it faster than this. I'm being very careful because I know I don't want to ruin everything I've done to get this finish back up. And each time you do it, it's going to get shinier and shinier and shinier and smoother and smoother and smoother. Can you feel it now at this point? No, you can't. And we still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more steps to go on just that fret. Okay? And then when we get done with that, after we do all of those steps and they're all done, we have to take and put a little polish on them and really work them and get the polish on there. So you see how tedious this is. Now, I don't do this on every single guitar, but sure enough, this is what we're calling a restoration. And yeah, we're going to go all the way. So how many steps? You do the math. 2, 4, 6, 8 on each fret, plus polishing. Now we're down to fine. Now, I kind of might. Oh man, that's coming up beautifully. I can still see some scratches from manufacture on that are going this way or this way. And that's from when the guitar was actually built. They never ever did this, and they still don't to this day go this far with polishing frets. I just got rid of them. Yeah. This one is so fine you can't even feel the grit on it. but let me tell you, it makes a difference. Both sides. Because one side is just a little bit finer than the other. Or at least I believe that it is. That fret is finished and standing tall. And I guarantee that the camera's picking up on that. That is a finished fret. I only have 21 left to do. Right? Ya follow? Tedious work, but this is what we do, and this instrument deserves it, and you have to do this. This is where the rubber hits the road. Yeah, that's where you play the guitar. We're going to stop there. I showed you a couple of processes. I showed you what happens with nitrocellulose after cleaning it, how it still tries to get that cloudy, goopy look. But once you're done, it's got this beautiful checking in it that is just, you can't reproduce that. It's from age. It's from age. Go buy a guitar that somebody stressed out for you. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Find an old one. It's Blackjack with 396 guitars. Gibson ES-120t. I think this is the second video. Yep. We're going to probably have a couple of more. And we're going to bring this guitar back to life, and it's going to make music again and go to a family member that's had it since 1968. So, excited. Remember, if you dig what I'm doing, like and subscribe. And by all means, share.